What's up everyone, back for another beer review, and today is another installment of Macro Monday here on the channel where I review a beer from a macro brewery or a macro-esque beer from a craft brewery. And the beer I'm reviewing today comes from Molson Coors Canada, and they are headquartered in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and this is their Molson Canadian. So this is American Adjunct Lager that comes in at 5% alcohol by volume and either 15 or 18 IBUs, depending upon who you want to believe on the good old interwebs. And at the time of review, I don't know exactly how old this can is, but it does have a best by date of September 9th of 2024. We're about 2.5 months away from that date, so we should be more than good to go. So full disclosure, I've had this beer numerous times before. The last time I had it was pre-pandemic. It was like early 2020. And just to be honest with you, this is not one of my favorite American Adjunct Lagers. It's actually one of my least favorite. I do not like this beer. I've never liked this beer. However, I've never sat down in a scenario like this where I'm breaking it down and actually reviewing it. It's always been, a social setting. So we'll see if that is still the case. And I always tell this story whenever I have this beer. And now certainly since I'm reviewing it on my channel, I have to tell it. But back in like the early to mid 2010s, so between 2013, 2015, I don't remember the exact year, but I was at a dive bar with some friends and family celebrating a birthday. And they knew I liked the fancy beers, aka the craft beers back then. So what they did is they got me, I think it was 4 different pours. It could have been 5, but I'm pretty sure it was 4 of whatever they had on tap. And they wanted me specifically to pick out a so-called hipster beer, PBR. So they got PBR, they had this, Labatt Blue, and I think the other one was Budweiser. I don't remember if there was a fifth. If there was, it was probably like Coors or Miller High Life, but it was all regular. It wasn't any of the light versions. And what's funny is I drank them all blind. I had no idea what they actually picked off the tap, because I didn't really look at the tap other than I saw that they had Sam Adams Summer Ale. It was in the summer, and that was like the best beer they had. This was like a true dive bar. And the thing that I remember about that blind taste test is that I picked PBR out of it as my favorite. Of course, they're like, oh, that's because you like that fancy beer. Of course you pick that. And I said, oh, well, it's because it tastes the best to me. And this was my least favorite. I absolutely hated this. And ever since I had it back then, it just kind of stuck with me. I do not like this beer. However, in this social setting, reviewing it, I have no idea. Maybe I'll actually enjoy it, but I'm curious about it. I always have to tell that story. And I always tell you guys, I try to be 100% truthful with the beers that I review on my channel. So I'm going to give this a fair shot. I'm going to be open-minded. We're going to review it. We'll see. I said the same thing about Budweiser and Rolling Rock, and both of those beers ended up tasting pretty similar to what I remember them tasting like. So I'm hoping that that's not the case here, because I would rather enjoy this beer than not enjoy it, but we gotta be honest with you. So I'm gonna give it a fair review here. Now, these big ass cans, these are what, 24 fluid ounce cans. There is 87% chance that I spill some on the table. I can't pour beer in general if you watch my channel, but out of these fucking cans, for some reason, I can't pour them correctly. So we're gonna try, but I'm gonna fucking duff it. Or maybe I'm not. Well, the pour's not great, and I only spilled a little down the side. So I'm happy with that. The pour fucking horrible, right? But at least I didn't spill a bunch onto my table, because that's usually what happens with these beers. So I'm kind of surprised that I poured it like that, and there's a pretty aggressive head there. So we'll see. I'll put that over here, and we'll see what goes on with this one. So how does this one look? Well, it looks like a fucking idiot poured it, because he did. So aside from the head being literally, I'd say like 3.5 fingers, well, 3.5 of my fat fingers. Yeah, it looks like your typical American Adjunct Lager. It has that straw golden color, lots of carbonation. This has the etching at the bottom to promote the carbonation, the enucleation. The head is bright white, again, very fluffy, soap sudsy look to it. Hold it up to the light. Yeah, you can see my hand through. It's crystal clear. It's exactly what you're thinking this beer should be based on the style. Let's get a nose. Very nondescript and inoffensive in the nose. So that's a positive right off the rip. It doesn't smell bad. A little bit of like a corny kind of graininess going on. Some dirt bikes going by. Sounds like dirt bikes. I'm gonna pour a little bit more in here, just because I'd rather have this a little bit fuller if I can. Something like that. And then I'm gonna save this off the side. I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna cheat, because I can't taste anything. So now I think this, I love that head. Like, it has like the mushroom cap on top of it now. So yeah, I mean, that looks like a beautiful beer. Anyway, it doesn't smell like much. Corny, grainy, a little bit of like a red apple core, like a red apple skin. Maybe a touch of grassiness. It doesn't smell gross, which is already a win in itself. I did look up what this is made with because, you know, so many of these beers, they'll just say like, oh, the finest, you know, barley and this and that. And this definitely is brewed with corn syrup, 100%. So it's adjunct lager. But anyway, it doesn't smell bad. It's pretty fucking warm out. It's been warm for like the last week. So this might be refreshing. Let's hope that it is. Cheers, everyone. Well, fuck my life. Something has happened with my palate in the last 4.5 years. I think the last time I had this one was like January or February 2020. I'd have to go look at Untapped, but I was hanging out and went to, I think, a beer fest. And then I went afterwards to another bar down the street in Lewiston, New York, here in the Buffalo, New York area. And I remember somebody busted, because we were drinking a bunch of different beers after, like people were sharing beers and buying beers from the bar and all this stuff. And somebody bought like a round of this for everybody. And I was just like, all right. And it was a nice palate refresher, or palate cleanser, a nice refresher. And obviously I was shit-faced, so I don't remember what I thought about it, you know, back in 2020. But this is not what I remember. Like, I remember this one very akin to Budweiser and Rolling Rock, where I just get this like funky, astringent kind of finish to it. Not here. This is just pretty clean. Body's like lower side of medium body, 5%, that's fine. The mouthfeel, it's crisp. Like I said, it's very clean, quite refreshing. Has like a moderate carbonation, effervescent, you know, spritzy on the palate, but not overly done. It's not all that flavorful. It should be 100% honest with you. It's not like super flavorful or anything. But what is on the palate is very inoffensive and fine. It pretty much carried over from the nose, front to back. This grainy, corny sensation, you know, the malt and then the corn syrup. And then maybe a third of the way, maybe half of the way through the palate, get a little bit of that red apple skin. It's maybe an underlying like lemony citrus tone. And on the finish, there's this very slight like floral grassiness, very slight. This finish is very dry. I think the one reason why I'm actually not hating this right now is so many of these adjunct lagers to me can be cloying, especially with like the adjunct feel, whether it's like corn or rice or the malty kind of just sweetness. And this has a very dry, it's a firm, dry finish. This has no bitterness, but the dryness is really pronounced on the palate. Makes me want to go back for more, and it makes it a bit more refreshing. Huh. I would like to do, so at some point I'm going to get battle beers off the ground. I don't know what I'm going to call them on my channel, but I'm going to get a couple like black wine glasses. I'm going to do blind taste testing where I pour like the beers into them. Maybe get one of those things where off a cheap one off of Amazon where it kind of like rotates. I'll just close my eyes, pick them off of that, and then just do a blind taste testing myself. Because I would love to compare this to Labatt Blue. Here in the Buffalo, New York area, Western New York in general, Labatt Blue is king. Like, everyone drinks Labatt Blue when it comes to macro lager. This is a distant second. But I'd love to go head to head with these because I don't know. I don't remember this one being, this is not much worse than Labatt. It might be very similar. And a couple things too. I got this out of the fridge and there was a couple other things I had to take care of before I got to this review. This has been out of the fridge for like 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So this isn't even ice cold. This is probably like in the 45 to 50 degree range, which a lot of times you start getting these adjunct lagers and, you know, they start warming up, they become gross. This is cool, but not cold. And it doesn't taste bad. So this is why I like doing this. Well, a lot of people will say, why are you going to review a beer like this where you clearly say at the beginning that you've had this numerous times before and you hate the fucking beer? Because a lot of times when you have these beers, you're not sitting down, breaking it down on a fresh palate and trying to dissect the beer and seeing how it tastes. You're just drinking in a social aspect where you're just fucking downing, you know, cans, bottles, off a draft, pints, whatever. And you're not thinking twice. You're just thinking like, that beer wasn't good or whatever. I was just drinking because people said, you know, let's drink. I'm sitting here telling you this is not bad. Would I ever buy this purposely to drink myself? Probably not. Unless I was at like an aforementioned dive bar where I knew they didn't have a lot to offer, I might reach for this, but I'd probably just reach for that PBR because I like PBR more. However, this is what I'll leave you with. I am going to give Molson Canadian from Molson Coors Canada. I have no issues whatsoever. Shout out to Rainier Parade. I have no issues, Rainier Parade. No issues whatsoever. If you watch this review, I have no issues giving this a straight 3.5 out of 5. And I don't think going in this review, I would have said anything fucking remotely close to what I just said. And that's the beauty of it. Yeah, 3.5 out of 5. This is, yeah, I don't know. I don't remember what I gave Labatt Blue, but this is right there with it. Maybe, I don't know. I don't remember what I gave that beer. But, you know, for the two main beers that get into these states, I don't know, they're very similar, maybe not on taste, but just like enjoyability for me. So anyway, price point availability, I paid $2.49 for that can, fine for 24 fluid ounces. 12 packs are like around 12 to 13 bucks, so around $1 a can. And then I think like 24 packs are like 22 or 23, so just under $1 a can. Not too bad. A lot of imported beers are much more expensive. So I don't think that's a bad price point. But again, when I can get Jenny Cream Ale for like 30 racks for like $18 or even 20 bucks, like, I don't think I would pay the extra $4 to $5 to get 6 less beers of this in comparison. Just saying. Again, it's imported, so, you know, apples and oranges. So, yeah, 3.5 out of 5 for Molson Canadian. I can't believe that sentence just happened. But listen, and a lot of people are like, 3.5 is not that good. When it comes, I rate to just overall as a beer, not to style. Stylistically, this is probably getting the 4 range for like an American Adjunct Lager. I think it's pretty solid, which is fucking baffling. Like I've reviewed this with my Canadian friends, Maxwell Starr and Nick Lowe, on his channel. I think they did a Beer Analysis 101 where we did it, and I fucking hated it. And again, I guess I was kind of breaking it down, but that was back, I think, like 2017, 2018. So we're talking 4 to 5 years, or 6 to 7 years ago. So, you know, you're talking about a long time, and my palate has changed immensely in the past like 3, 4, 5 years. I'm getting more into lagers, and I think getting into lagers, like as a whole, like regular, like craft lagers and whatnot, have allowed me to enjoy these more so than I would have, you know, 5+ years ago. And I also want to say that despite me hating this one and not really liking it and now finding it fine, the same thing couldn't be said for the aforementioned Budweiser and Rolling Rock. So while my palate has changed enough where this is a little bit different to my palate, those beers still, nah, not for me. But I would say this, if I was going to reach for a imported Canadian macro lager, there's much worse out there. I don't know if there's this. You have this, Moosehead. I like Moosehead. I have a review Moosehead at some point. You got Labatt. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking out my ass. Anyway, 3.5 out of 5. If you've had this one before, post in the comment section. Availability, they probably have a beer finder. I think they have like, they probably have like the Canadian and American website. If you do the American website, you can probably find this, you know, if it's in your area or whatnot. I don't know how far into the states they get, if it's everywhere or just like bordering Canadian states or whatnot. But yeah, it's fine. Like, I'm totally, as you can see, I'm kind of flabbergasted that I actually, let me take one more sip. I just want to make sure that I'm not just talking out of my ass like I usually do. Yeah, it's so inoffensive. Like, it almost has, I forgot what beer I reviewed recently where I said it kind of had like a, kind of like an apple juice or like a hard cider kind of feel to it. That's kind of what this is, like kind of like a hard cider. There's enough of that like apple character and dryness where this is like almost like a dry hard cider, but it's a beer, so it's not. But 5%, you really can't feel it or taste it or anything. Yeah, it's fine. Anyway, I'm going to shut this one down. Appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review, and especially a Macro Monday. Check back in 3 to 4 weeks. I'm going to review something else. I'm actually going to be reviewing Stella Artois, and I actually bought a can of that. I got a can of it for like 3 something. I didn't want to buy an entire 6-pack of it. I've had it before, obviously, but I've never had it out of the can. So I'll be curious to see how that one is. I always find Stella's okay. I don't love it or anything, but it'll be fun. Anyway, this is a longer Macro Monday. Usually this happens when I'm fucking just dumbfounded that I actually enjoy the beer because I've hated it, or vice versa, where I really liked it and I just don't like it anymore. There's not much of this one left, but I can say I'm going to drink the rest of that. And I don't think I'm going to be too angry about it, believe it or not. So anyway, to the next one. Cheers.